Good afternoon. I'm John McIntosh. I'm the chair of SVA Computer Art. Yeah, that's right. How do you make that noise? What kind of animals are you? See, you're scaring the children already. So this is the first SVA Alumni Film Festival, and SVA Computer Art's delighted to have two screenings within the larger film festival. Last night we screened Avengers and featured the alumni Joel Sevilla and Jeremy Butler, which was really a nice show. Today we have the honor of having three of our alumni join us from Blue Sky Studios, and we'll be screening Rio 2. So one of the things I want to point out is that that SVA has this kind of a theater, or this kind of theater complex, is really a testament to about the school itself and to what extent they value moving image arts, the film industry, visual effects industry, the animations industries. There's no school really that I know of anywhere that has this kind of facility or that extends this kind of support to their artists. So we're delighted to be part of this. As you can imagine, these are very difficult things to manage and to produce. And this production for both today's screening and the entire film festival was all done by Adam Natalie from the SVA Theater. And everything that's done to make these events look good and to feel good and to be professional is all completed by Adam and his staff, which are all dedicated to making us look as good as we can possibly look. So just a round of applause for all of them. I would say, too, that this event in particular is one that speaks to the largest part of SVA's community and is the most inclusive event of all SVA's riches of talent. There are 8 departments involved. There are graduate programs and undergraduate programs. And again, this is the first of its kind. So it's a heroic effort and one that I hope you enjoy. Today, we'll be featuring, again, screening Rio 2. We will also, after Rio 2, we'll be doing a question and answer with Kevin, Krzysztof, and Jonathan. And that'll be hosted or moderated by Christina Farah. So, yeah, that's right. I won't stop that applause. All right. So, within our alumni, Kevin's from the class of 2009, Krzysztof from 2011, and Jonathan from 2012. These are relatively recent graduates from this program, and ones that, as opposed to last night, which the graduates were from the very first year I was, the second year I was at SVA, they were from 1999. So it's a thrill to have this range of alumni participate. It's always a thrill to have our alumni come back and to contribute to and to stay in touch with our current students. And as I was saying last night, we have students that I go to all the time for support. And the people that I can kind of rely on to do things that are with goodwill and professionalism are the students that will be here in the next 10 years. And it's a great thing to be involved in an institution, and it's humbling for me to be involved in some place that alumni actually come back, actually I hope, look forward to coming back. And it's always our great pleasure to see our I'll say old friends, but as the chair of a department, when many of these guys were students, I wasn't always their friend, right? I mean, I was their chair. And so with each one of the guys that will be presenting today, we had our moments. But it all was for goodwill ultimately. So I'm thrilled that everybody's here. We're going to start by screening Rio 2. So please enjoy the show. Put your 3D glasses on, and I think you're going to like this very much. We'll talk to you after. Thank you.
Wow, that was amazing. That was so awesome. Those visuals blew my mind, especially in 3D. That was insane. Are you guys excited to be here? Welcome back. That was an amazing movie. We all saw their names in the credits too, which was so cool to see. So how does it feel to be sitting up here today in front of the school that you went to for 4 years?
Pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm very honored to be here. Thank you for having me here.
I know. We got to give a round of applause for them. So as we all start as dreamers, and I know that we have a lot of current students in SVA as well as like the general public here, how did it feel to keep doing what you guys are doing? Now you're at Blue Sky, and when did you realize you wanted to go into 3D? And what were your backgrounds before you even came to School of Visual Arts?
Are we just going to start like one by one?
Yeah,
or-
one by one would be fine. Yeah.
Is this on?
Yeah, is it on?
Okay. What's the question again? Sorry.
Like, what were your backgrounds before you came here, and what made you realize you wanted to do 3D?
Well, I actually came from a really interesting story. I wasn't originally supposed to be an artist. Like, I was kind of training as like a stereotypical Asian kid. I was supposed to be a doctor for the longest time. And I have my mom here somewhere in the studio, or in the audience too. But yeah, she can understand. But like, before I was going to NYU for pre-medicine and economics, and one day I was taking a Gen Chem like 101 class, and I realized I really like hate chemistry.
Not the path.
Yeah. And I always liked, always really loved drawing as a kid, and I love artwork, and so it was kind of a natural step. I kind of applied to art school without telling my parents, and I had to explain later on to my mom like why I wanted to be an artist.
That's amazing.
And I gotta say, I think going to SVA was really like one of the best decisions of my life,
Yeah,
and it's a really strong program here. And
that's
so
amazing.
The rest is kind of history. Yeah.
Krzysztof?
I was always interested in computer graphics, and well, I was working at a deli before I applied to school, and I was really interested in learning more about computer graphics, and I saw that SVA had a program, so I took a figure drawing class in the school's pre-college program with Jimmy Calhoun in the computer art department.
Aw.
And after I did the figure drawing class, I decided to take all of the artwork I was making in high school and all of the figure drawings I did to apply into the program. And I lucked out and I got in, and I guess the rest is history.
I guess I started pretty early on. I don't know if anybody knows the game Duke Nukem 3D. I started doing levels for it. I guess I just sort of went into doing 3D. I was, like 6 or 7, started doing like Bryce 3D, and all of a sudden just decided I'd go into actual 3D as a career. Applied and got in. So now I'm here.
Oh, this is awesome, guys. So I know Kevin actually has been the longest at Blue Sky as a TD for particles, right?
It was particles, clothing, and then now crowd work, about 4.5 years.
There were so many crowds in there. That must have been crazy to do that giant beginning scene where everyone's dancing.
Luckily, I didn't need to work on that too much. That was when I was doing clothing for it, like the singing scene with Nigel and whatnot. I was working on that before I got into doing the crowd work, so I have 2 credits on the movie for this.
Do you guys want to talk about your positions at Blue Sky? Because I know that you guys are modelers, so if you want to go in depth with that.
Yeah, I'm a modeler, so I started at Blue Sky right out of school. I was very lucky. And yeah, it's a shout out to the great faculty here
Yeah.
at SVA. I was taught by Brian Hinman, who was at the time an ex-senior modeler at Blue Sky. And so he helped write a recommendation for me to help get me there. But I've been there for about 2.5 years and worked on a ton of films, I guess. First one starting with Epic, and then this was my second one, Rhea 2. And yeah, I'm a modeler, so I guess I do a lot of Maya and ZBrush, and it's awesome. I love it.
That must be fun to be there every single day. Someone told me before that you guys have crazy ping pong tournaments every day. Tell us about daily life at Blue Sky.
I used to play a lot of ping pong. But yeah, it's very relaxed. It's a fun environment for sure, and I really always love going to work every day.
That's awesome. And now that you guys are at like a feature film studio, I know that before this, you guys had other positions at other places. You worked on games, and I know Krzysztof was at Disney. Yeah. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. After school, I did a little stint in London working on Dark Knight at Double Negative, and then after about I think 2.5 months of working there, I got a call from Disney, and they offered me a position in one of their talent development training programs, and I went. So I went to Disney to work there as a modeler, and I got to work on Wreck-It Ralph and a few of the Disney theme park rides and the Mickey short that aired in front of Frozen. And then from there, I decided I want to come back to the East Coast, so I sent in an application to Blue Sky. And yeah, that's pretty much how it
That's
went.
amazing. I know Blue Sky is actually the only feature film animation studio on the East Coast, right? And it's in Connecticut.
Right.
That's awesome. Do you like being back here on the East Coast?
Oh yeah, definitely. It's
Yeah.
great.
We got cold winters and everything that's great in the world.
Well, I think last week in Burbank, in the middle of the week last week, it was about 112 degrees in Burbank.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
okay.
like record heat right now. So I'm glad to be back here.
We would do without the heat. That'd be really great. So now, if you guys could go back to your past selves and starting out in the industry, and to the people sitting in the audience, what advice would you give them for aspiring artists and current students?
Don't let people get you down, I guess.
I love that one. That one's amazing. I love that one. That's my favorite one.
You've probably heard it before. People say that, but it's true. You won't have everybody on your side when you actually get into the industry. Every time you make something, not everybody's going to like it. So if you feel like every single person will get to you if they say something bad, then, you can't let it get to you. You just got to get past that.
Yeah, you gotta stay strong, because you guys are artists and you're amazing. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise.
I mean, I agree with Kevin. I think the most important thing is to kind of find that inner voice inside of yourself that kind of keeps pushing you to create new content and make more art. Because it's really easy to get discouraged, and it's really easy to just if you hear some negative feedback on some of your work, to just get discouraged and give up. But you just have to really push beyond that and really trust yourself that you're going to succeed in the end.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's very important to stay passionate about and love what you do, really. And there's one piece of advice I always give to all the students that I meet. I think SVA has a particularly good program because all of the professors here are adjunct professors, so they're working professionals in the industry. And so one of the important things I think I learned at school is that networking is very important. And so those professors that are industry professionals, they're usually like the first people who connect you to the industry, who will get you your first job or your first internship. And at the same time, you should be also very nice to your peers and network amongst your peers, because those are also going to be your coworkers in the future, as you can see in the future. And yeah, my advice also to the undergraduates, when I was a freshman, I was helping the seniors in the senior labs all the time. And I would really encourage that because even though when I was a freshman in SVA, I didn't have any technical skills whatsoever, but I had a lot of enthusiasm. And so I was helping one of the SVA alumni, Christian Hanuszewski, he was a modeler at the time, but now he's teaching advanced modeling and rigging class.
He's also at Blue Sky.
I'm in that class.
Yeah, he's awesome, by the way. But I was a freshman, and he was a senior, and I saw he was working on this really amazing project, and I just wanted to work on it. No matter what I didn't really have much to offer because I didn't have any technical skills, but what I could do was I could draw, and so, I helped him any way I could, and 3 years later, he remembered me, and so he helped bring me back. And actually, in fact, when I was a freshman, all the seniors that I helped, a couple years down the line, they got me work. So for practical advice, networking is very important at school.
That was really amazing advice from all three of them. And so now let's talk about some hardships you guys went through at Blue Sky. Is it always a sunny day, or are there times where you're like, are we going to get this done today? Is this going to happen?
For me, it's almost always a sunny day. I love it there. I don't know. The modeling department, I think, in general, it's pretty relaxed, and it's not too stressful. We're very, very fortunate to have a 9 to 6 job, which I think is really lucky in this industry, considering when I talk to my other classmates and stuff who's graduated, they do a lot of overtime and stuff. But generally in modeling, it's very comfortable.
How do you guys feel about that?
I know Kevin has other opinions there.
Well, I'm in the same department Jonathan's in, and we're on the front end of the pipeline, so we build all of the assets for the movie. So our team size isn't that big, but we have a lot of work to do. We basically have to model the entire movie, I think, for sets, in about 6 to 8 months, and that's not a lot of time.
Yeah, we only have, sorry to interrupt, we only have about 16 people as modelers, and we're working also on like 4 films at the same time.
Yeah,
So
which
it is
is-
a large volume of work.
Yeah, it's a large volume of work with a small team, which is kind of different than my experience at Disney because they have closer to like 25 modelers and they are only working on around 2 movies at a time. But I think the work environment at Blue Sky is really relaxed. So there's not that much. You have a lot of work to do, but there's not this huge looming feeling of pressure to get it out as soon as possible. So
you guys.
So there's a well, you're like
I'm near the end of the
near
pipeline.
the end of the pipeline. So the modeling department is pretty stress free, and so but
Yeah, we're waiting for all your work coming through the pipeline, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, from my perspective and stuff like that, like you saw the production babies and stuff like that. I think it's a good environment that you can
Yeah.
probably have time to balance life and work, and
Yeah.
you know, have kids or family. Oh, I mean, Kevin
I'm
will
not
offer
going to
this
agree
one.
with any of this right now. You saw the shot work with however many birds flying through. There's 5 of us in crowds. One of them was a temp that only came in halfway through Rio. So really, there was only 4 of us working on this movie. And basically, one 3-second shot could take a week to get done. And there was however many shots with so many birds. And basically, anything that changes down the line, even after us, things that don't render right, things that don't look quite right, need to come back to us to fix. So you guys get to model, come up with cool things.
So they get to go home at 6.
Yeah. It's not like that all year
Oh,
round for
yeah.
me, but come 3 or 4 months in the year, I'll be there until like 9 or 10 at night, sometimes 11 or 12, but that's rare. But yeah, it takes some time to get the stuff done, so.
We get overtime sometimes,
Yeah.
but it's just pretty rare for us.
Rio 2 looks like a really big project, so I can imagine that was a really large scale of things being done. Yeah. Did you want to say something?
I forgot what I was going to say.
No,
Wait,
that was
it's
my
coming
fault,
back.
that
It's
was
coming
my
back. It's
fault.
coming back. Because every department will experience a period of like an overtime crunch to get a movie out, and usually the assets departments, which are all the front end departments like modeling or materials or like a fur department, basically defining kind of like the look of a movie. All those departments usually get the most amount of time to work on a film because they start from right in the beginning, and then they can each department can always reassign artists to jump back and get a little bit more work done later on. Whereas most other departments, animation can't get started on animating any shots until the rigs are complete, all the character models are finalized, and even maybe layout work is done. So their production phase would start kind of in the halfway point that the asset build phase would be in the timeline, and that's why like everything kind of gets condensed in terms of time at the
Yeah.
end, where everybody, it's the same in.
Everyone has
yeah.
different crunch times, so that's what it sounds like. All right, so then you're not versing him in ping pong when you're doing crowd sims. Okay, so I think the audience has questions right now, and I think if they're going to line up by the mics, they would like to say a couple questions for them sitting up here. You guys can feel free.
We won't bite.
I know. All right, so we got one over here. Hi.
Hi. Thank you for coming. I'm interested in going to story, and I was wondering if you have any advice for that. Just being in the same kind of environment as people who do story, and what do you see as things that are good to know?
Are you opposed to drawing on walls? This is a legit question.
No, I can do that.
The walls in the story department are like coated in drawings and just jokes, and people in the story department seem to have like a lot of fun. Everybody likes to hang out with each other, and I mean, every department has a camaraderie to it. It just seems like the story department has like this weird kind of almost like a humorous kind of essence to them. I don't know how else to put it. But not to get discouraged if you're not like in that. Just saying, it seems like a lighthearted group, at least for Blue Sky.
There's this book, it's called Framed Ink, you should read. It's a book on storyboarding in film, and it actually has, it kind of pushes a little bit more towards animation-based storyboarding, and I read it and I recommend it. But also, I think Blue Sky, since they try to put out like family comedies mostly, the more a big part of storyboarding is your ability to create funny sequences. So you might get a script that, at first look, there's not any jokes in there. So you have to find the physical humor that you can put in, and it would go a long way if in your storyboarding portfolio, if you boarded out different gags, or showed different ways. If you showed different ways you can make a scene funny.
Unfortunately, I don't really have that much experience with story. If you guys know, I made a demo reel for my thesis, which was a modeling reel with no story
It
whatsoever.
was very good, so it's okay.
But yeah,
Thank
listen to what
you.
these guys say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do we see someone else coming to line up?
Hi, I have a question
Oh,
here.
yes, perfect.
So I'm learning a little bit more about animation now and how story works and the idea of a story person creating visual gags, but it does start with a script. And my understanding is companies like Blue Sky and Pixar and whatnot, they develop their ideas in-house, either on the executive level or whatnot. Have you ever found in your experience at Blue Sky that there was material that came in from the outside that was either developed or that person was brought on to develop stories that maybe that person didn't generate?
I'm not sure if when did that cannonball? What was the gag with? Not the gag. The music video with what's her name riding on the wrecking ball.
Oh, Miley Cyrus.
I don't know when that came out, but there was a shot like that in Rio. I don't know if that had any influence on that whatsoever. But who knows? Stuff like that always creeps in. All the twerking, or the no you didn't thing always seems to show up.
I think what the question was, people like, as if it was like how Brad Bird came into Pixar, and he was not a Pixar employee. He came in telling a story. He's trying to say if anybody like
My
that
bad.
from Blue Sky, they would outsource the story from them.
I think it only at a studio like Blue Sky, I think everything gets developed internally, with the exception of their films that they do with other franchises, like at Blue Sky they made Horton Hears a Who, so that's
I love that.
part of the Seuss estate, and now Blue Sky is making the Peanuts film.
Even Epic started as a kids book.
Yeah, and Epic started as I think it was a William Joyce book called The Leafman. I think for writing, for animation, they don't solicit any ideas from the outside unless if they have become really established. With the case of Horton Hears a Who, that was a really famous children's book, and The Leafman was also a really famous children's book.
Thank you.
I don't know too much about how the story works in Blue Sky, but I know they do hire a lot of freelance story artists, I think, and writers in LA. And I think at Blue Sky specifically, I think we get a lot of influence from the corporate office, because sometimes they'll just throw unnecessary characters just to sell the movie sometimes. But that's just specifically to...
And most of that writing happens in LA.
I'm sorry?
You said most of that writing happens in LA?
I think so, but I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah. And you guys commute from Manhattan to Greenwich every day?
I used to, but then the commute was just like too long. It was like an hour and a half coming from Chinatown, Manhattan. So I recently moved up to White Plains, New York, and Westchester.
Right. Well, good job.
Thank
Thank you very
you. I see we have a question over here. Hi, how are you?
Good. Since there was more characters in this than the last one, how'd it go with creating them, especially Gabby and the kids?
I don't have too much input on that. I'm not too sure.
I didn't get to work on any of the main characters for this film. I got to make like a small mosquito, I guess, with the orchestra and stuff like that.
He gets crushed.
Yeah, Gabby was an awesome character. I didn't get to work on her, but she's like one of my favorite ones. Are you talking about like the character pipeline and how we make characters? Is it okay if we like start talking a little bit technical, or?
Yeah, you can go talk technical. I think we have people here that will understand.
I mean,
yeah.
our modeling pipeline for modeling for characters, we get a little bit. We work directly with designers, and we get some time when we're doing characters to work with digital sculpture and ZBrush, and yeah. And then we make the final models in Maya.
As a department for Rio 2, I think the workload we had for characters, I think it looks on the screen like there's like a ton of characters to be made, but when you break it down into the actual assets that were made, I think there's only between maybe 35 and 40 characters, and only about 10 of those are like the lead characters. So it's in terms of I guess bringing the characters through the pipeline, or which characters get the most I guess time in the production to build. All of the lead characters, most of them were already built for Rio 1, so they were just ported over to the second film, and so there wasn't that much. It didn't take up that much production time with like a team of 16 people working on the characters.
Did that help? Did that help? Okay, awesome. Thank you. And then we have a couple people behind you. Hi, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. I have two questions. So when you're on a modeling team and you've got like 3 or 4 shows at any one time, are you just modeling whatever asset is, I don't know, needed at the time? So are you like hopping from Epic to Rio 2 to Snoopy to back to Rio 2? Like, is it like that?
Yes.
And okay.
Exactly what it is.
And my second question is, when you're starting out modeling at Blue Sky, they're not going to give you the main character to be modeling. So is there, like, how do they split it up? Do they ask you what preference you have? Do you like environments? Do you like characters? Do you do background environments and background characters and then move up to the main ones? Like, how is it broken down within the modeling team?
Well, to answer your first question, yeah, we do jump from show to show all the time, and then each show has also a distinctive style. So, like when we first start on some assets, sometimes we have to kind of adjust to the show style a bit. But the design team is very good, though. They always give us like a show style guide, and they'll have like design principles that we're supposed to follow, or a certain visual language that we're trying to convey all the time. It does
Like, what's an example of like a language? Like, they give you lots of concept art, but are there certain like principles, like lots of straight lines here, lots of curves there, or something like that?
Well, for the Ice Age visual language, like there was a lot of angular pieces. There's also this. They really want to emphasize there was a swoop and then a hard angle, and then on the other side, like if you made a branch, there's a swoop, and then the other side would be a soft angle. We see it has like it's kind of like they're gem cuts. And for Peanuts, our visual language is we have squiggly lines on everything. Like it feels like it's a hand-drawn quality that we're matching like Charles Schultz's comic strips. And Rio 2, it was like the language was like trapezoidal. Everything wasn't exactly like rigid, but it had to be. It was like, I think if I remember correctly, it was 80% realistic, but 20% stylized. But these things would all just be outlined in the style guides.
And this is pretty common between every single department here. It's basically a movie has a timeline, and no matter how many other movies are going, like if the work needs to be done, it needs to be done. And even a lot of studios have something like an animation Bible, or a style guide to a degree. Pixar has talked about this, Disney has talked about this, where it's basically like a set bunch of rules that you need to abide by for animation. Even for the crowd work, I need to make sure there was certain type of crowds in certain ways, and stuff like that. And it happens with every department.
And if you do see like the art of books and stuff like that, they usually dive into that kind of stuff, and you can kind of see the visual language of the show. And for your other question, for modeling, like well, for Blue Sky, I think it's a really cool studio because for the modeling department, it's really fun. We get to both work on characters and environments. We haven't like specialized specifically into either or. Like I think Pixar does that, where they have character TDs and then they have the set TDs. And so we get a very wide range of things that we can do. And when I first started, I started as a temp modeler, and then I was there for like 5 months or 6 months or something, and then they brought me on as a staff junior modeler. And so I kind of got to climb the ranks. And so as a junior modeler, they still gave me like tertiary background, or secondary characters, and they're usually very fair. So I really enjoy working there. They give you a good balance. And they haven't given me main characters yet, but they have started after like 2.5 years. I recently got like 2 characters with lines, finally, So, yeah, they have performances and stuff. So it's gradually giving me more and more responsibilities. But it seems like it takes a fair amount of steps, and everyone seems to get characters because those are really always in demand and stuff. They do a good job of balancing.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we
Thank
have
you.
one over here on this side now.
I'm not sure if that answered my question or not, but talking a lot about working your way up and going through the pipeline and stuff. What are the typical like entry level jobs at a big studio like Blue Sky? Do you start with like animating a flower moving in the wind, and then work your way up to a character, and then work your way up to a character who has dialogue?
Oh, so do you mean specifically for in the role of an animator at the studio?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Blue Sky has animation TAs, and I think animation TA is Blue Sky's, I guess, bare bones entry animation position. Mm-hmm. And for that position, all you do is do collision cleanup whenever a character will pick something up or a character's walking. If anything's intersecting slightly, you'd actually go into the rig and slightly adjust it. It's basically just like in traditional animation, how you'd have a cleanup department. But the animation TA's department is within the animation department, so it would give you an opportunity to network with all of the animators within the department. And from there, you might be promoted up to a junior animator, and that's when you'll get started on, I guess, lower level shot work.
For clothing or other departments, it's similar, I guess, but it's more of they see that you have a certain talent, and they kind of localize you into a certain group. Like for the headpiece and the cape and everything that Nigel was wearing in the film, that was like 2 or 3 of us. I was part of that group as well, and there was 15 to 18 people at any given time in clothing for it. So some of them only had like the dancers or just regular T-shirts and whatnot, but then there would be people specifically just because they knew how to acclimate themselves to that like specialty, I guess. So it's not really moving up; it's more of finding where you fit in best.
Okay.
Alternatively, there's like a route where you can start as a production assistant, as like runner, just taking notes at meetings and stuff like that. At Blue Sky specifically, I think it's very difficult for you to move up from a PA position, like production assistant position, to an artistic one, but it's not impossible, but it's very difficult. Actually, one of our most recent hires came from PDI DreamWorks, and he had told me this incredible story where he started from facilities, like emptying trash cans and stuff like that, and eventually became a PA, then a coordinator, and he worked late nights, in the modeling department team at DreamWorks PDI, and he learned how to model directly from the team, because when you're a PA, you're in the studio, so you get to network, you get to learn from amazing people, amazing talent, amazing artists. And so he picked up his skills that way, and he was able to jump, from like a production assistant and a coordinator position to an artistic one. It's not impossible, but that's an alternate route also.
All right.
Anything can happen. Okay, so here we have one more person over here. I think this might be
Thank
our
you.
last question.
Hi, I'm wondering if you have an next step in your career, because we both want to have a louder voice in the film and a larger influence on the film, and people climb up on the position. So what kind of people can climb up, and some people just stay there and do the same thing over and over, what's the qualities, and when does your current job really satisfy your artistic ambition? How do you cope with that?
I don't feel like moving up. That sounds very limiting, but I'm basically for this film and on the upcoming Peanuts, I rewrote the AI system from scratch. Well, not from scratch, but I ported everything over, recreated it, made it have functionality that just didn't exist before, and it's satisfying me in the creative TD realm, along with giving me shot work that I can see on the film later on. So there are people that want to move up to a senior position or a department lead or something, but for me, I'm as strange as it sounds, I'm content with what I'm doing. I really enjoy what I'm doing.
But to kind of jump on what you're saying, but I think one of the reasons why you're content with what you're doing is because outside of work, you're making all of this interactive art. That's really amazing.
That's true.
And that's a really important thing, is that it's part of the work-life balance that even if you absolutely love your job and you're an artist, you should always find time to create your own personal art outside. And I think most people at Blue Sky do that. So you're always getting that fulfillment, that you're not artistically locking yourself into doing one thing, because it's kind of like for your job you're doing this artistic. You're making movies and you're working at a studio, but then outside you could do something completely different, but still be in the realm of making art, like painting or making
Arduino projects.
Yeah.
If anybody knows Arduino, learn it. It's fun. They're good.
As far as how far you can climb, I think you're only really limited by your personal ambition and aspirations. So it's just as far as you want to shoot for. You should just keep shooting for it and stay passionate and dedicated.
I think on the more technical side, I think any of the effects departments or cloth or character TD setup departments, I think industry-wise, the if you put in a really big career, you could end up being a CG supervisor, and then on the more design end or the modeling end, potentially you could end up one day becoming an art director somewhere. But I think the biggest part is, just like Jonathan said, is to just keep making stuff.
And as in terms of getting fulfillment from your work and stuff like that, I think it's important to really love what you do, because if you love what you do, then you'll be happy. And I can understand the conundrum between making production art for someone else versus making your own personal art. Like when I first started at Blue Sky, I was starting as a junior, so I just made 1,000 rocks and 1,000 trees. And it can get boring after a while. It's like, oh my God, it's really exciting. I'm working on a movie. But then rock number 2,000, you're just like, oh my gosh. And then, yes, you have to seek other, creative avenues and stuff like that. So I do a lot of sculpture work actually at home, and I post on my blog and stuff like that. So,
Thank you.
Yeah.
And we have one more over here. Hi, how are you?
Hello, how are you? My name is Giovanni. This is my little daughter, Jazzy. Say hi, Jazzy.
Hi. Hey, Jazzy.
Yeah, my daughter, she loves to draw. She draws on everything. And, I would like to ask, what kind of advice could you give to her? She's only 6, she's just starting, but,
No,
I
never
wanna-
too young. Don't ever stop drawing. Even now, I feel like that as a student, I feel even though I'm in 3D and I work a lot on programs, the people who draw definitely have such an artistic sense, and it lets you step away from what you're doing every day because you're in your own world. But that's my own advice.
I mean, if she loves drawing it, I would say just keep drawing. We all started from the same place. I was drawing with chalk on the sidewalk like all day kind of thing. And just stay passionate. And if she loves like drawing and she wants to continue drawing, you should encourage it, I think.
Thanks.
I completely agree. Draw stuff that makes you happy. Like, just don't think about when you're making stuff for yourself. Don't think about it as what should I be doing. Just when it comes to making your own art, just draw whatever you want.
Yeah, there are no rules.
Yeah.
And any creative outlet works. It doesn't need to be drawing. I mean, modeling like you do on the side, or I don't know, making weird paper sculptures or chainmail or something. You know, it's fun. It's creative.
See, people get paid at Blue Sky to draw on walls, so see, it does work out.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And I
Keep
love the
drawing.
movie. You guys keep doing what you're doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. So I guess that wraps up the Q&A. Thank you guys for coming so much. That was such an amazing experience to get to talk to you and learn more. So can we give them a round of applause?
Let me ask one last question. Was that Javon? Is that right?
Yes.
The scholarship will be in the mail. I'll make that note. Just let me close this off. Actually, we should give shout outs to both Kevin's parents and Christina's parent, who is here, so as well as Jonathan.
Hey, John's
Christoph,
mom's here too.
I'll stand in for your parent. For me, you can imagine, as only the parents here could really imagine, because you've known these guys longer than I have, you guys are amazing. I mean, seriously, that was one of the most intelligent conversations about being at Blue Sky or being in this art field that I've heard in years. So thank you very much. It was amazing. To do things with Blue Sky and big studios, you have to get permission from everybody to get these guys to be able to get anybody to show up. And it's appropriate, but I can tell you that Blue Sky would be beyond proud of what you did today, and it was really excellent. So I'm in awe of you. In fact, so much so I'll never be able to tease you again. I'm going to have to call you sir. And so the roles have shifted completely as of today. And Christina, virtually TV quality personality.
Oh, I thank you.
So thank you very much for everybody for coming. Thanks for all the questions, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the weekend. So thank you so much.
Have a fun weekend.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for having us.
Today's screening and the entire film festival was all done by Adam Natalie from the SVA Theater. And everything that's done to make these events look good and to feel good and to be professional is all completed by Adam and his staff, which are all dedicated to making us look as good as we can possibly look. So just a round of applause for all of them. I would say, too, that this event in particular is one that speaks to the largest part of SVA's community and is the most inclusive event of all SVA's riches of talent. There are 8 departments involved. There are graduate programs and undergraduate programs. And again, this is the first of its kind. So it's a heroic effort and one that I hope you enjoy. Today, we'll be featuring, screening Rio 2. We will also, after Rio 2, we'll be doing a question and answer with Kevin, Krzysztof, and Jonathan. And that'll be hosted or moderated by Christina Farah. So, yeah, that's right. I won't stop that applause. All right. So, within our alumni, Kevin's from the class of 2009, Krzysztof from 2011, and Jonathan from 2012. These are relatively recent graduates from this program and ones that,
Those visuals blew my mind, especially in 3D. That was insane. Are you guys excited to be here? Welcome back. That was an amazing movie. We all saw their names in the credits too, which was so cool to see. So how does it feel to be sitting up here today in front of the school that you went to for 4 years?
Pretty good.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm very honored to be here. Thank you for having me here.
I know. We got to give a round of applause for them. So as we all start as dreamers, and I know that we have a lot of current students in SVA as well as like the general public here, how did it feel to keep doing what you guys are doing? Now you're at Blue Sky, and when did you realize you wanted to go into 3D? And what were your backgrounds before you even came to School of Visual Arts?
Are we just going to start like one by one?
Yeah,
or-
one by one would be fine, yeah.
Is this on?
Yeah, is it on?
Okay. What's the question again? Sorry.
Like, what were your backgrounds before you came here, and what made you realize you wanted to do 3D?
Well, I actually came from a really interesting story. I wasn't originally supposed to be an artist. Like, I was kind of training as like a stereotypical Asian kid. I was supposed to be a doctor for the longest time. And I have my mom here somewhere in the studio or in the audience too. But yeah, she can understand. But like, before I was going to NYU for pre-medicine and economics, and one day I was taking a Gen Chem like 101.
Good afternoon. I'm John McIntosh. I'm the chair of SVA Computer Art. Yeah, that's right. How do you make that noise? What kind of animals are you? See, you're scaring the children already. So this is the first SVA Alumni Film Festival, and SVA Computer Arts delighted to have two screenings within the larger film festival. Last night we screened Avengers and featured the alumni Joel Sevilla and Jeremy Butler, which was really a nice show. Today we have the honor of having three of our alumni join us from Blue Sky Studios, and we'll be screening Rio 2. So one of the things I want to point out is that that SVA has this kind of a theater, or this kind of theater complex, is really a testament to about the school itself and to what extent they value moving image arts, the film industry, visual effects industry, the animations industries. There's no school really that I know of anywhere that has this kind of facility or that extends this kind of support to their artists. So we're delighted to be part of this. As you can imagine, these are very difficult things to manage and to produce. And this production for both
Class, and I realized I really hate
It's
chemistry.
not the path.
Yeah. And I always always really loved drawing as a kid, and I love artwork, and so it's kind of a natural step. I kind of applied to art school without telling my parents, and I had to explain later on to my mom why I wanted to be an artist.
That's amazing.
And I gotta say, I think going to SVA was really one of the best decisions of my life.
Yeah,
And it's a really strong program here. And
that's
so
amazing.
The rest is kind of history. Yeah.
Krzysztof?
I was always interested in computer graphics, and well, I was working at a deli before I applied to school, and I was really interested in learning more about computer graphics, and I saw that SVA had a program, so I took a figure drawing class in the school's pre-college program with Jimmy Calhoun in the computer art department.
Aw.
And after I did the figure drawing class, I decided to take all of the artwork I was making in high school and all of the figure drawings I did to apply into the program. And I lucked out and I got in, and I guess the rest is history.
I guess I started pretty early on. I don't know if anybody knows the game Duke Nukem 3D. I started doing levels for it. I guess I just sort of went into doing 3D. I was,
opposed to last night, which the graduates were from the very first year I was, the second year I was at SVA. They were from 1999. So it's a thrill to have this range of alumni participate. It's always a thrill to have our alumni come back and to contribute to and to stay in touch with our current students. And as I was saying last night, we have students that I go to all the time for support. And the people that I can kind of rely on to do things that are with goodwill and professionalism are the students that will be here in the next 10 years. And it's a great thing to be involved in an institution, and it's humbling for me to be involved in some place that alumni actually come back, actually I hope, look forward to coming back. And it's always our great pleasure to see our I'll say old friends, but as the chair of a department, when many of these guys were students. I wasn't always their friend, right? I mean, I was their chair. And so with each one of the guys that will be presenting today, we had our moments. But it all was for goodwill ultimately. So I'm thrilled that everybody's here. We're going to start by screening Rio 2. So please enjoy the show. Put your 3D glasses on, and I think you're going to like this very much. We'll talk to you after. Thank you.
Wow, that was amazing. That was so awesome.